Hello, everybody. We're here explaining and doing commentary on these top 8 matches that happened here at Snake Eyes for the Modern Tournament for this last season. Mike Ingram is here, who actually participated in the tournament.
And I'm Tom Foley.
He did not participate in the tournament, but he is one of the main men here for Magic at Snake Eyes. So we're going to get right into it. This is the round 1 matchup with actually Mike versus Bryceten Forrester. Bryceten is playing Dredge, and Mike is playing his own version of Tron. So we'll get right into the match, and if you guys want to kind of explain what's going on, we'll do some commentary here.
All right, so at this point, there was something going on with the camera. So we started about mid of game 1. Bryceten had already started dredging, but I did slam an Ugin and I had a worm coil engine out. So I am gaining life, and he does start to go off here.
And it looks like he's got 2 Oxes out from what I can see on the camera, which are 5/3 each, I believe.
Yep.
With the counters.
Yeah.
So it does look like he hit a couple, if he could have gained some life, which I'm not sure what's going to happen here, he might get some more creatures back from the graveyard during the end step as well. So.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
So, Mike, what you have looks like it's a pretty simple and decent board state for Tron right now. I think that's an Ugin that's down, and you have a worm coil engine.
I believe, yes.
If you really don't know about Dredge, all those guys that come out, they come out conditionally based on what goes into the graveyard or what comes out of the graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and he does scoop here.
So,
and the reason why is because Ugin exiled all of his smaller guys, and then he just had the 2 Oxes left, and I have a worm coil engine that I'm not going to die with.
Basically, you cleaned out his library, you can't bring him back.
Yeah, so it's really hard. That's a really bad position,
yeah.
Whenever you have the Ugin tick down to get rid of all your stuff. I mean, how do you come back?
It's a very good
particularly for Dredge, when you have everything out, all your gas is out, you're done.
Yeah, and then we're gonna go to game 2 here, and this is a best of 5 for the tournament. So the first 2 games we actually do not sideboard.
Right. So right here, everybody's just kind of resetting their deck and everything, and we'll get to the sideboard after game 2.
So what would you give the matchup, Mike? Like based on pre-sideboard, how do you favor the matchup?
I favor it 50-50. If they go first, it could be really rough. But so the version that I built, I could actually use my sideboard hate pieces against them.
Yeah, in game.
So that doesn't really matter all that much to me. But what does matter is it depends on how lucky he can get off of his dredges. So if he dredges off a specific draw, then I could be either really bad or really good at that point. And then...
So it looks like we got a pretty basic start. It looks like you power plant map, I would say, right?
I think it might be a sphere. The camera, we were using the...
Glare is not
the bad camera for my match.
Not your friend during that, so...
Yeah. So he is going to dredge here.
Okay.
He's dredging a Stinkweed Dip. And...
It looked like you got a lot of lands in that.
Yeah. So... If I remember correctly, he did Cathartic Reunion.
And we see that as a star now.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was pretty sure I went and got it from there.
Okay, what is that?
That's a Silver Scrying.
Yeah.
To get the third piece of Tron here.
Right.
It's good that we don't have actually good video quality, because you can't read any of those cards anyway. Unless you speak different languages.
So he has a third Tron piece, and in case you don't know, Tron has 3 separate pieces to it, and if they are all present on the battlefield at the same time, they count for 7 mana together.
Right, so it does allow you to drop those big things, like basically what everybody wants to do is drop a Karn Liberated during turn 3 to exile something to put them behind.
Yeah, it puts a lot of pressure on people to respond to everything that comes out, and if you can't, you just lose because they're that good.
and I drop an Oblivion Stone here. And this basically just helps me in case like he does bring back a bunch of creatures all at the same time. And I know he's going to dredge, which is fine.
Yeah, that's a real insurance measure, and it is frustrating to sit on the other side of that because you have the O-Stone sitting there, and you know that you have to get him to trigger it, but you also know that when you have to expend resources to get him to trigger it, and then you're still a turn behind because he's already connected his 7 mana together to drop another piece of pressure on you that'll probably win him the game.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised, Mike, that you thought that this was maybe a 50-50 matchup. I just feel like
with O-Stones, it seems
and Tron has a lot of utility, and your list is a little bit different, right? So you have.
And here's a 10 power Ulamog.
So that's
this will just close out the game here.
Yeah.
There's nothing that he can do from this spot at all, and I think he just concedes right away.
Yeah, because he's about to swing at him and exile a considerable amount of his library,
Top
which
20.
is not what you want to do.
So,
if you're
and the
playing
big
dredge.
thing, and I think what we saw there is, Mike, I believe you exiled his mana sources, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're cutting him off of anything. If he would actually happen to get some of those dredge triggers and get his creatures back, you have the O-Stone backup.
Well, it looks like he has 2 pieces of land out. What pieces did you exile? Were they?
I took his green sources.
Okay.
What
does that stop?
So his green and black sources. What's what I did. So he has white sources in his deck, and I think those are the 2 lands out. I'm not 100% because of the way the camera was, but you want to get rid of their black sources first, because the black sources are the cards that are basically
those are those newer sauce pieces. Correct?
Yeah, and they're also the castable cards that he can cast. And you're never taking them off of red, which is like the major color of the deck.
So here it looks like he got 3 of those, the new zombie back in.
Yep.
Well, what's the 2-drop green card that brings land back from the?
That would be Life in the Loam.
Life in the
You
Loam.
shut that off
that's
too.
a big piece, yeah.
So, and then with here, I drop another tower.
Oh.
So I have 13 mana.
Devastating. Ouch.
We exile the top 20. And
Dredge puts so many cards in the graveyard that this is probably a deck out right here. Honestly,
it's pretty close. I think when we looked at it, he only had maybe 10 cards left from when it was, but
your life total is perfectly fine right now.
No, he did trigger that, and he was just dead. So he most likely gained some life there, but. I also showed him that I had another Ulamog, and I was about to play another Ulamog into him, but I didn't even need to because the Oblivion Stone was still there.
Yeah, Ulamog into Ulamog is usually just game over.
Well, the Oblivion Stone stops it anyway.
Yeah.
Because Ulamog is indestructible.
Yeah.
And Oblivion Stone destroys.
Yeah.
So.
So there wasn't a whole lot of anything. It looks like Bryceten didn't really get a whole lot of interaction early in the game, which doesn't help that
I guess that would be he'd have to have a lightning fast draw to take you early, I think.
So I've played the matchup a good bit.
I mean, unless you tripped up on mana sources, but
yeah,
that doesn't happen to you very often.
Well, so I know when to mulligan, and I know how to play the deck very well, but I've also played this matchup very well too, or not very well, a lot. Justin Cunningham, which is a very well-known player in Jersey, he pretty much put Dredge in the map a couple of years ago, and I roomed with him in one of the tournaments, and we played it for about 3 hours straight one night. So I understood every aspect of the deck, everything of the deck. So playing against the deck, I understand it. And Bloodghast is very good against Tron, and right now a lot of the Dredge decks aren't playing Bloodghast. They'd much rather play the Lifelink package because Bloodghast can't block. So whenever you're facing some of the other decks in the meta, Bloodghast is actually worse than Silver Smoke. But overall, against Tron, like being able to fetch into your Bloodghast and then being able to swing with Bloodghast to get some chip damage in, that's ultimately good.
Yeah, I think that the Bloodghast build is a lot more aggressive. Like here, you're just kind of trying to do a drain. I think I would prefer the Bloodghast myself, but
I mean, to be quite honest with you, I actually think this build's actually a little bit more aggressive because you have 3 ones that are attacking. But they also give you the backup plan, and with the Ox of Iroas, having that extra backup plan of being able just to block certain things and just like give you time to bring out your Ox for your ultimate like takeover in the game. I actually find that it's much better against more decks. It's just against Tron, I think this version of Dredge just isn't as good. Now, a cool interaction with Silver Smoke Ghoul is when Silver Smoke Ghoul enters the battlefield, normally like Bloodghast would trigger your prize amalgams. And Silver Smoke Ghoul enters the battlefield at the beginning of the end step, and then prize amalgam triggers and it's the beginning of the next end step. So he actually gets around like Anger the Gods and stuff like that, like sorcery spell board wipes that way.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Because then the prize amalgams, they come back after the Silver Smoke Ghouls are already off the battlefield, which would not happen if you were just like playing a land to put Bloodghast in.
right.
You're just basically committing. You don't have to commit your whole
Exactly.
creature force to.
Now, he did play certain things a little weird in the matchup. Like he had a few times where he could have dredged on my turn to try to interact that way. But if he does hit a Silver Smoke Ghoul, that means that he won't have the prize amalgams on his turn to attack me. He would get them at the end of his turn. So it's still not good in that aspect. So he's got to pick and choose what he wants to do against my deck. Luckily, I know what's good against him and what's not good against him. And I don't need Tron against him, but I know he's not bringing any type of like land hate against me.
This is before the sub, or is this after the sub?
This would be the first game with the
Post
support.
sub. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So we do have the sideboard here, and I think
So it looks like you tucked one underneath, which means you did a mulligan. I think.
Yeah, I think I mulled to 5 this game.
Okay.
To be honest with you.
And that is a common thing with Tron, because you really want to connect to the pieces that are going to win you the match, or stall the match until you drop major pressure early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Some people don't like to do that, but it really is, like, some of the better players know that aggressive mulliganing is important for the Tron match, or for playing Tron.
Yeah. So you can mull to like 3 and 4 playing Tron and be fine, but it is only against certain matchups. Like certain matchups, you want cards in your hand, and certain matchups, you don't want cards in your hand. And this is a matchup where he'll bring in Thought Seizes, he'll bring in different things to interact with the hand. So I don't need that many cards in my hand. I just need to make sure that I hit my land drops and I have a couple of spells that I can.
So on
cast early
his hand, he's trying to get the pressure out of his hands. So then it becomes Mike has to draw into it, and sometimes you can miss that way if.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I do think that Dredge is one of the decks that really got hit hard by the Faithless Looting ban. You know, you have Merchant there, which is kind of a substitute. It gives you a body on the back end, but
I actually think that Merchant is much better than Faithless Looting, and I understand that the card isn't, but you got to think about the way that Merchant is played. Merchant is played as one spell, so you can't interact with it. Unlike Faithless Looting, whenever you could interact with them, like going to cast something, right? Whenever you pitch your card to the Merchant of the Veil, you can't interact with the Dredge.
right.
It happens automatically.
Right,
So you get to drop the card and then dredge right afterwards.
It's one effect
So
because
in
you
that
replace the
particular
draw.
situation, it's very good.
Yep.
So here it looks like, Mike, you again, you cracked a map, and you went to go get a Sanctum of Ugin, it looked like, right?
Yes, I already had the tower in hand.
Okay.
And I knew that I wanted to grab a creature with Sanctum of Ugin, so that was why we played it that way.
Right, so you're just trying to create more pressure by being able to go get your big thing
Yeah.
once you
Yes.
Ensuring
play your
that if he
Kalos
answers
spell.
the first pressure, that the second pressure. Usually that's how, like in Tron, if they answer the first, the second one usually gets you. But sometimes it can be just backbreaking it.
And I'm pretty sure I'm actually going to do the Ugin here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the 8-drop Ugin, crack the Sanctum of Ugin to go grab Ulamog. And then I'm pretty sure I just bolt his guy, unless he brings back something. I don't remember.
So there, he's this kind of that little chump damage that you're getting in, right? He's
Yeah,
able to bring that in and attack with the merchant.
Until I'm down to like 9 against him, I don't really care. But I mean, that's kind of almost any matchup, to be honest.
So,
but essentially, you got on his side, he's got to get every point he can against you because you really want to try to get in under that. That looks like you're assembling Tron now.
I already have Tron assembled.
Okay.
I grabbed the extra tower because I have an Ulamog in hand.
Oh yeah.
So and that's why I grabbed the Sanctum.
This might end it right.
The goal
here.
is to play the Ugin, to go grab the Ulamog.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there's Ugin right there.
And then we bolt his guy with the +1 or the +2 from Ugin, and then we grab the Ulamog, and then we have the extra tower in hand, so we can just slam the Ulamog the next turn. And he's only got 2 lands, which means that he's in for a rough time.
Yeah, this looks really bad right now.
So it looks like he's using that merchant to dredge again.
To do just what you said.
Right. So, there's really not a whole lot of outs for him right now, right? Unless he can kind of trigger that life gain, he has a bunch of guys in the graveyard and bring them back.
But even then, there's an Ugin sitting on the board.
Yeah.
Right, which you can just tick down and wipe his entire board.
Mm-hmm.
You need something with haste, which he doesn't really have in that package, does he?
No.
There's a Dredged Vine list that has haste, which might do a little bit better in this situation, but not like this.
Yeah, and so it also seems like, and I don't know, I guess we're probably moving into turn 5 now. He seems to only have 2 lands out, which is not real good. That's
this looks real bad. I expect a concession here real soon.
Yeah, and I also have the Ugin at 11, and I don't remember.
And there we go. That's
11 is the
concession
reset
right there.
No, 11 is I draw 7 cards, gain 7 life, and I put 7 permanents into play.
Mm.
And then that's the match. So. I did draw the 7 cards to show him what I would have done with Ugin, but
so perhaps there was a 50% there somewhere, but that looked pretty strong in favor of Tron, I would say.
So in game 2, he had a really bad turn 2 play, and it wasn't his fault. He made the right play, but Dredge is a variance as well. He played a Cathartic Reunion, where you discard 2 cards and you draw 3, and he discarded 1 Stinkweed Imp and didn't hit another Dredger. And when that happens, you're just so far behind in dredging and for advantage.
Would you say that Dredge is probably one where aggressive mulliganing is probably word of the day a little bit there too?
It's very good, but whenever you do aggressively mulligan, you have to realize that you want 2 lands in your hand. You want something to get your Dredger in the graveyard, and you don't want to keep the cards that interact with your graveyard when they enter the graveyard, such as Creeping Chill and Monarch Amoeba.
Right.
So. All right, very good. Well, that was a pretty one-sided match with you, Mike. So
yeah,
and I think that was your deck is just really well suited to play against that. Plus, Bryceten seemed to not draw very well in that matchup.
Mm-hmm.
So that was our first feature match from round 1. We do have another feature match from round 1, which we'll be showing here soon. But thank you everybody for turning in, and make sure you check out the other videos. And I believe we have one more match here that is Aaron Hauser, I believe, versus Dalton Dobbins that we're doing on the feature match for round 1. So
2 relatively new folks to the Magic community, but putting strong numbers up.
Not really.
Well, to the Altoona community, I would say.
Yeah, so they were known mostly for just tabletop play, but Aaron actually plays a lot of old stuff.
But both of them are putting up strong numbers just across the board.
Yeah, I mean, Dalton's been playing, I think this is the first time for him in the modern top 8, right? But he's also, like you said, he plays standard all the time.
I just got my butt whooped by Dobbins the other day.
Very good. All right, well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and look out for that next video. We're going to have the other feature match from round 1 up soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.